Hello, my name is James Hunter, and this is my 2 cents channel where I talk about topics from mental health to physical fitness and just topics of interest. And today I'm going to talk about therapeutic lifestyle changes. Now, this is the month of May is the month of Mental Illness or Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm going to talk about a few things as far as mental health disorders and substance use disorders too, because typically those can co-occur. And what I want to do is talk about wellness as it relates to people trying to address situations whether they struggle with anxiety, depression, or any other number of type of mental health or psychiatric conditions, or just people in general who are trying to address, trying to be a healthier whole individual. So let me read a definition from the World Health Organization, and it's basically, this is their definition of health. And health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely just an absence of a disease or some type of infirmity, if you will. And that's just one definition. There are others, but you get the idea. A lot of people, when we think of health, we think just of the physical aspects. I didn't get the flu this year, or there's nothing physically wrong with me. But health is so much more than just the physical body. And that's why, especially these days, and how we look at how people are treated for mental health disorders and substance use, the traditional medical models would look just at, the physiological issues at hand, the physical symptoms and so on. But now there's so much more that's looked at or considered with people, and that's why they look at the various dimensions of wellness. There's actually 8 dimensions of wellness, and I'm going to do a separate video on that, but today I'm just going to talk about some statistics here that I'm going to read off some notes I took. There's a lot of information, but I got some bullets of information, or if you will, that are just that I highlight for this short video, some points I want to make about mental health disorders and also substance use disorders for the month of mental health awareness. So let me look right here to one of my notes I have down. I'm going to read real quick about what research has said. Research has shown that individuals with serious mental health and substance use disorders have a higher rates of a number of preventable and modifiable or treatable health conditions, if you will. Individuals of mental health and substance use disorders die decades earlier, as much as 25 years earlier than individuals without these type of disorders, people who don't have a mental health disorder or substance use disorder. So let's just stop right there and think about that. 25 years early. Now, for me, having worked in the field of mental health and substance abuse rehabilitation for more than 20 years, while that's still shocking, it doesn't surprise me because I have seen it. I see individuals who are a lot younger than myself, in their 30s, but they look like they're almost 60 years old. People that are the same age as me, I'm 48, but they look 20 years old, or they just got so much mileage on them, they're beat up because mental health disorders also have a high occurrence of other unhealthy things I'm going to talk about here in a minute. So you do see that the stress that these individuals undergo. A lot of times it's due because they don't have healthy coping mechanisms. They have unhealthy, maladaptive ways of dealing with stress, whether it's smoking cigarettes, using drugs, just toxic or harmful ways of dealing with stuff in their life, which takes its toll on their overall health. So, and this, as far as the individuals dying as early as 25 years younger, you can get this information from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or the SAMHSA website. They have all types of information there, and this particular quote I cite from them. So we also look at research, more research, it indicates or has found that as many as 68% of individuals with mental illness and substance use disorders have more co-occurring health conditions, such as higher rates of diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, asthma, and other respiratory diseases, obesity, and infectious types of diseases. Now, when we look at obesity and people who are overweight, 29% of men and 60% of women with severe mental illness are overweight or obese, and this is compared to only 18% of men and 28% of women in the general population that are overweight. So those are significant margins right there when you look at what is co-occurs or what's associated with mental health disorders. Now, for mental health disorders, a lot of things come to mind, anxiety, depression, more severe or chronic disorders such as schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type of mood disorder, and so on. You can look at a DSM-5 manual, which has all the various diagnoses in there. I could go on a whole video just on that, but you get the idea. There's a lot of different types of conditions people can be diagnosed with. So when we look at studies that that show this, we know that there is a strong relationship there, a strong relationship between the lifestyle that's associated with individuals who are mentally ill or have a mental health type of condition, disorder, if you will, and also substance use. We know that the behaviors associated with those conditions are not healthy. Again, as I mentioned earlier, they have a higher rates of modifiable or treatable conditions as compared to the general population. And a lot of that has to do with unhealthy coping mechanisms. So let's look at therapeutic lifestyle changes. So when treating individuals, traditionally just a medical model, you prescribe a medication, here's the treatment, and then the person goes about their way. The problem with that is that mental health and substance use, it's just more complicated or more involved, if you will. It's multifaceted. It's not enough just to say we're going to do something that's going to treat the body. We're looking at relationships, social health. We're looking at how people cope and deal with stress, their internal experience, how they view themselves with relationship to other people, situations, places, and things, and the world. So let's look at studies that examine the impact of lifestyle, okay? So review of studies examining the impact of lifestyle changes on wellness shows that therapeutic lifestyle changes lead to improved health and positive changes in many of the wellness dimensions. So if you're looking at physical health, yeah, you're going to see an improvement there, but also you see an improvement in mood, a better sense of feeling and well-being. Exercise, for example, I'm going to talk more about the exercise here in a minute. You see an improvement in sleep. If you can regulate sleep or you do things that are going to increase better quality of sleep, that right there is going to improve your mood, your health. It's going to help with memory, cognitive type functions, and so on. Your immune system is going to be stronger if you're sleeping better. So when we look at therapeutic lifestyle changes, research has shown that lifestyle changes that involve healthier eating, nutritional habits, good things that promote better sleep, exercise, for example, these things can be as effective as psychotherapy or medications for improving symptoms of various psychiatric disorders. Okay, so the thing is, what you got to remember is that this probably should be a separate video. Is that you have mental health or mental illness type symptoms that can be caused by situational type stress tied into the environment, tied into lifestyle situations per se, and then it manifests in the body as symptoms, mental health type disorder. You can have that, that's the genesis of it. It's stress acting upon an individual and they manifest mental health problems. Now, more serious psychiatric conditions can be something an individual's born with, predisposed, for example, to like schizophrenia, other types of mood disorders and so on. Their situation is organic in nature. It's a disruption in the brain that it doesn't matter if their situation is pleasant or perfect and they have a good situation that doesn't have a lot of stress. They can still have symptoms. In those situations, the more medical model approach is going to be definitely necessary if they're going to need to be able to manage or stabilize that situation. So you have different individuals, different types of situations. So that's why everyone should be individualized in how you go about looking at your situation. If you do have depression or other symptoms, be able to rule out things to determine, what are some of the root causes behind your situation. So when we look at this, exercise further, let's talk about that some more. We know that exercise can reduce anxiety and depression along with improving the functioning of the brain. and also reducing memory loss in older adults. So there's a benefit to cognitive functioning, which that's going to help your mental health. So particular to studies that have indicated and shown that there's a positive effect on neurotransmitters like serotonin, which have been implicated in regulation of mood and other neurotransmitters that are involved in that process. That exercise, aerobic in nature, strength training, and so on, it's going to help improve that situation. It has a positive benefit. So these are things that when looking at, mental health, that should be considered if you're not doing it, if you're someone who has, had issues with being depressed, or, you have issues with how do you manage feeling anxious or dealing with stress and so on. Exercise can be tremendous, and not just with mental health. You have individuals, in recovery from whether it's alcohol use disorder or alcoholism, other types of substance use type disorders, addiction. Exercise becomes a huge or a very important component for their plan for recovery. And I'm going to talk about that a bit more. You got to have a plan if you want to get better. It's not enough just to be aware or to know. You need to have a plan of action. So individuals who have exercise as part of their lifestyle change, therapeutic lifestyle change, do very well. And often, as will be found with individuals in the population, is that they can have co-occurring mental health and also substance use disorder type situations. So when we look at this, as far as the larger picture, the whole of the person, health, like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, traditionally people only think of the physical aspects, but things that can have an impact on our mood, our general sense of well-being, are beyond just going to the doctor and getting a prescription. There's things that you can do on your own, from exercise, changing your eating habits, and so on. So when I mentioned you have to have a plan for recovery, or have a plan to be healthier, what does that mean? Does it mean you have to start very complicated? No, you don't. You can start with small things. Small changes over time can add up to big changes. So let's look at nutrition. Sugar. Sugar can cause all kinds of problems for individuals in terms of their health. So if you can work on just minimizing, reducing sugar, focus on that variable. Beverages that are loaded up with sugars. Try to drink more water. Beverages that are sugar-free. Look at your food products. The things that are overly processed and so on, where they add a lot of sugar into food. So start paying attention to food labels. How can you reduce sugar? And just pick that one thing and work on that. Don't get overwhelmed. When you feel that, hey, I got this under control now, I'm doing well, then pick something different, as far as, your food intake and these things that over time are going to improve your situation. As far as exercise is concerned, there's a lot of people who have been sedentary for a real long time. So that can be, sometimes intimidating for certain people, particular to when they look at videos or they look at fitness, pop culture, as far as what they think fitness is because of what's put out there. But in reality, fitness is very individual to you, and there's varying degrees. If you're a beginner, set goals that are relevant and meaningful to you. Try to walk 15-20 minutes in the mornings per day. Work up to 30 minutes and to where it's vigorous, where you're, noticing that you're breathing a bit more, which is what you want. You want to get your heart rate up. So start with that, 3 times a week. Increase your frequency over time, and then your intensity as well. As far as other things that are beneficial, like strength training, do some research, do your homework. If you're able to, get a personal trainer. And if not, talk to people that are knowledgeable. Pick a few things you can start doing to be part of an exercise program. If you're someone who is recovering from alcohol or substance use in recovery, you may want to gravitate towards people and support groups that may already have some of this in place. They have some years of abstinence under their belt. So find someone like that who's a positive peer and learn from them, and try to associate with like-minded people. So these are just things as far as mental health and management of symptoms and the things that put people at risk that I mentioned earlier that co-occur, such as the modifiable treatable situations. For example, people who have mental health disorders, mentally ill, tend to smoke cigarettes more. That's just a fact. So that's a modifiable type of risk factor that can be worked on. You can quit smoking, get help to quit smoking. It's not something you have to continue doing. As far as the individuals I mentioned that die as far as 25 years earlier because they're in that at-risk population, if you will, because of the mental health or mental illness diagnoses and or substance use disorders, it doesn't have to be that way if you intervene, if you start changing the behaviors that are contributing to that. And a lot of times, like I said earlier, it's co-occurring behaviors with the mental health disorder, mental illness, if you will. It's the co-occurring behaviors with substance use disorders. Things like eating healthy is not a priority when you're in that state of mind or caught up in that cycle. Doing things to take care of yourself are not a priority. They're not very salient. So once a person gets stable enough through treatment or some type of intervention, and you have a sufficient amount of stability, medical stability, you have opportunities now, and they don't have to be like a lot, not as much as you think, for you to start doing things that you can take responsibility for. So you only need a reasonable amount of stability as far as your living situation, employment. If for those who are working, maybe some people, your situation's different. Maybe you're a homemaker or something to that effect, which is fine. But once you have that minimum, criteria met for you to start focusing on making some changes, it's up to you then. And that's going to be different for everybody. We're not all the same. So just something to think about. What are your thoughts on this? Does treating mental health problems and substance use and recovery, is it a holistic approach? Is wellness type concepts where you work on therapeutic changes in lifestyle, is that really where it's at? Or is it simple as, people, are just left up to the idea that it's purely physiological, it's a physical problem, and so it's going to be medication only, or it's 100% a disease problem, and therefore, again, back to that medical model. So how many still think that? Not very many. What people are recognizing and do recognize are the wellness dimensions, your environment. Are you in a toxic environment? What type of stressors are around? What can be done about that? Relationships, the type of individuals you associate with. Negative people, positive people. What's that situation like? Social health, those types of things. The need to feel connected. Existential things, or like spiritual, your sense of purpose and meaning in life. These types of things. All these things factor into your health. So anyways, this is just a short video I wanted to make. Maybe it's gone on a little bit longer. There's a lot to be said about wellness. There's a lot to be said about the at-risk populations, such as people with mental health diagnosis, substance use disorders. That is a reality, and if not addressed, is going to unfortunately have consequences, as far as people's health and the decline and deterioration. But it doesn't have to be that way. Therapeutic lifestyle changes do make a difference. I've seen it with individuals who have, been in recovery. I've seen people come from a state of darkness, if you will, out of a depression, and to just thriving and doing awesome and living a great quality of life. And in all these situations, what I can say is that therapeutic lifestyle changes was the key. That was the difference, versus just say somebody who's getting more of a singular type of intervention, if you will. So leave some comments if you like, as far as your thoughts. Subscribe to my channel, I appreciate it. I'll be making more videos this month on some mental health topics. I'll also make some more videos on physical fitness too, when I get some time, and maybe some other topics of interest. I try to make at least a couple of videos every week, and I'll probably pick up the frequency more as I go along with this channel. I have a YouTube account, or I made one back in 2009, but it was just for watching videos and just for my own entertainment. Wasn't until a few years ago that I started kind of uploading a video every now and again. And of recently, now I'm really making more of an effort to develop this channel, and I'd like for it to be a channel that has variety about wellness topics and so on. So if you'd like for me to make a video on a particular subject matter that's of interest to you, I'm definitely open to suggestions. Drop it below in the comments. Until I talk to you again and make another video, you have a great day. Thank you.